Anyway, so glad everyone is here today. As I was saying, Christine is a new timer, and we have lots of our regulars. So glad everyone is here today. We are going to shut that out. Andy's trying to do stuff as I'm trying to greet you. So today we're going to talk about Findmypast and the new changes it made to the platform. And if you're joining us live after we discuss that, then we're going to go into the live Q&A portion. So anytime that you catch us on a Friday afternoon, morning, evening, wherever it is around the world, that is the flow. We'll talk about our topic of the day, and then we'll go into live Q&A. So who are we?
Oh, we're Family History Fanatics. I'm Andy.
And I'm Devin Noel. And my friends call me Devin, so you don't have to remember Noel. So we love to help you understand your family tree. Now, before we get started, we want to thank our new channel members. You guys, all of our channel members help to make this show possible. And so who are our new channel members?
Well, I'm looking here. It looks like there's a Teresa Lee Whiting, who is new, and Johannes Duprees. Mm-hmm. She might actually be from the Netherlands or something with a name like that.
Perhaps.
Let's see here. Joseph Boriotti.
The text is really, really small on our screen. YouTube just does not give us the ability to make text larger. So.
Bill Pfaffenberger.
Awesome. And Simon British Saxon. So glad you guys have joined. The FHF channel membership is a bonus content. We have a lot of free content here on Family History Fanatics. We will have some free content over on Facebook, not to be confused with our channel membership. So if you've signed up for a membership, it's just extra content. But tell us about the membership real quick, and then we'll get into Findmypast.
So membership, you can click on the join button just down below, and it is $2.99 a month. And what you get for that is each month we have a members only live stream, which is usually a more in-depth deep dive into either a research problem or a DNA problem. And that is coming right from our members. So it's basically free. Well, it's $2.99 consultation for you if you're chosen for that. And then we also do a webinar each month as well. And tomorrow is our members webinar, and it is going to basically be getting started in Ancestry DNA, where if you've been wondering what all Ancestry has, or maybe you think you know it all and you want to come and see that there's some other things that maybe you didn't know about before.
Absolutely. And he's the DNA guy, so you know it's going to be a great presentation. All right, so thank you all for joining. We're so glad you're here. Let's talk about the changes over on Findmypast. I was going to say, I want to say Findmypast, and it is Findmypast. So Findmypast last year in 2020 and in 2019, they started rolling out more capabilities with their online family tree. And they have tree-to-tree hinting, which is really, really great because I talked with Jen Baldwin with Findmypast, and she says that of their users that have trees on Findmypast, the vast majority of them only have their tree on Findmypast. So if you have ancestors that pass through the UK or Ireland, you're going to be wanting to access these trees. And so the tree-to-tree hinting is really great. So let's take you around family tree in a couple of the family tree on Findmypast so that you can see some of the features that they've done. Now, some of these features were available on other websites, but it's exciting to see platforms listen to their public, listen to their clients, and make things better. So we're going to view trees and hope everything goes well today. So we're going to pick on Andy's tree, the Kevern tree. Now,
is it on your account?
Yes, I did upload it for training purposes.
Oh, okay. I was like, I didn't remember uploading it to your account.
So one of the cool features that Findmypast has released is the ability to see up to 5 generations at one time. So we're going to zoom in here. And who are these people? What are these names?
So they are probably my great-grandfather's mother's something or other.
we'll kind of figure that out in a moment. But the Roberts, the Gays, the Boyens, these are all people from St. Keverne, Cornwall, England. Go Cornwall. So what you can do is you can look for somebody in the tree. So I went and I looked for Richard Stanley Keverne. Now he's the immigrant, right?
Yep.
So we're going to click on him. And you can see right here, I can't get it any bigger, unfortunately. That's the biggest I can go, so I hope you guys can see it. But notice how the focal person, the person that I typed in to find, now has the words focus person below. So that's really neat, so you know where you are in this view. And you can see down one, and I'm hiding the next view because they're living. So there's one below, two with the Marion Tame. I met Marion Tame, and that's Grandpa Grumpy, Richard Quick Keverne. And this is the grandfather that immigrated. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 generations, as you can see, at one time. So that was a new feature that was fairly limited before, but they've been able to expand that now. And then if you want to look at some quick facts about them, it pops out on the left side. And I'm trying to wait to make sure you guys can see it okay. Yeah. So if I pull it in a little bit, you'll be able to see it better. Okay, you can see that better. So there's a left side panel, and you can access your hints, add another relative right here. This is to get back to the tree view, but you have your quick facts. So the name, the gender, the birth, anything that you've added to the tree. Now, if you wanted to search for records from Richard Stanley straight from this tree, you can click search and it will take you to the search page. It leaves the tree open in another tab, but now your search form is in a second tab so that you can quickly navigate between each one. I kind of like that feature. If you want to go to the full profile, then you click full profile, and that takes you to full profile on the same tab. There's lots of great things they have going on here. An overview. I love timelines. Timelines help me to quickly see what's going on in someone's life. I can access the hints. I can search from records and go back to that search form, and the parents and the siblings right here. They have a separate thing for facts. So if you want to add additional facts to your timeline, you come and do it here. Another view of the relationships, the media, the notes, and the hints. So that is pretty great right there. Now, if you click here, you can go to 2 other views of the family tree. So the first one we had was the family view, and now we can go to the pedigree view. And this is the standard one that everybody is familiar with. It's been around in genealogy for a very long time. And then they also have the family group. So this is very similar to the family group sheets that we used to use a long time ago, the printed forms. And so you have the parents and you have the children right there. So that's pretty neat.
So there's a couple people saying, hey, this is blurry. And I think, who was it? Somebody, John noticed that on his, it was viewing it in 144p, which is like even worse than what regular TV is. Mm-hmm. And you should be able to change that. The 3 dots in the upper corner of the video, you should be able to change that to either 720p or auto or something like that. I'm not sure why so many people have gotten it so that it's blurry.
Okay.
But that's why.
Okay, so change the resolution that you're watching it on, and that should be able to take care of it.
Check one thing here just to make sure that we're broadcasting in as high a resolution as possible.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Okay.
Back
to you.
Okay, back to me. Okay. All right, so going back to the family tree.
I gotta go pull these down so I can see.
Okay. It's nice and clear. Okay, so
Christy, that worked. Okay, good.
Okay, perfect. Great. I don't mind you jumping in. That's why he's monitoring the comments and I'm doing the demonstration. Okay, great. Glad. All right, so let's go back to the tree. I'm going to actually navigate back. Give me a second. All right, so there's back in this tree. Now, let's say, just think of, I'm going to do a Roberts. A Richard. So let's say I'm working on Richard. I can type his name up here in the top, click on Richard, do the same series of events right there. But let's say I want to go back to that home person, Richard Stanley. I can click on this home button right there, and then it'll take me right back to Richard Stanley cover. And so if you ever get lost in your tree, you can do that. Now there's a couple other things that I want to point out. Your tree settings. You can define who the home person is right here. So you can start typing it in, Richard Stanley, and then you can change it to anybody that you want. I'm going to leave it at Richard Stanley. Now, if this happens to be you, then you can tell them, yes, this is me, because then they're going to establish when they say, how are you related to this person, then Findmypast will calculate that information for you. So anytime we see a relation information, it's going to be this home person. You can change the name, you can manage your preference, and I also put capitalized surnames, but it hasn't quite seemed to look like on the tree. It doesn't look like the names are capitalized. It could just be on the profile pages. So I'm going to go back to the tree right there. So that is basically the major overview of some of the cool features. There is a blog post over on Findmypast that has more details about the cool features they've been adding, but I really like how nice this looks. You know, although this isn't my favorite view, I am a fan chart girl, but it just feels modern and nice, and yet a nod to the past, very Art Deco at the same point. So there you go. Oh, I did. There's one other thing that I noticed. I'm sorry. There's one other thing I noticed. These little dots right here, these numbers, those are your hints, your record hints. So we can click on record hints. And because I mentioned the trees earlier, so here we can actually access your tree hints from that page right there. And we can see the different trees that have information for it. And then you can also see the variety of records. So we've got civil, these are his United States records. If we went back, let's go to relationships. Actually, let's go back to the tree. So you can see that I can get it from the tree. There's lots of ways to get to your hints. But if we go to, where's his dad? There's Daddy, Richard Nichols. And I click on his hints, then you're going to see some of those parish hints from the census records in the trees. There was someone else I was looking at earlier. I think it was the Richard Richards. And he had your parish records hints and the things that you've been exploring. So I think they've really made a lot of great advances in the tree. Now, for some of you, this may be applicable. When you add somebody to the family tree, you are able, there we go. They did allow you now to add someone to the tree with an unknown gender. That's their first step because gender is fluid in modern times. Or if you are adding a child and you don't know what their gender is, you know that they had a child, then you can have a child with an unknown gender. So I was supposed to also point that out. So if you have any questions, let me know either live by putting a Q in front of your questions, or if you're watching the replay, definitely ask questions in the comment section. So let's go up and see what we've got going on. All right, hold on. All right, I'm going to switch to this view for a little bit.
She's showing all these new views that I haven't seen.
I did some changes. You guys will be seeing them in a little bit. But.
Okay.
All right, so what kind of questions have we had?
All right, so there was one that I saw. Ascertain had a comment. Maybe that was just a comment.
Okay.
Okay, well, Stacy does ask a question. This is about probably about also moving stuff to Facebook. She wants to know if the writing deep dives are still going to be part of the Members Live.
Anything that is a channel membership is still here on YouTube.
Yep.
Just the live training, when we talk about principles over there, will be over on Facebook. I'm also going to do some write with me and or some scrapbook with me, some writing sprints. And this is all Stacy's fault because, well, two things. One, she really likes writing sprints that are over here on YouTube. But also, I need some accountability. And she had mentioned, hey, do some writing sprints. So it's all Stacy's fault. But we're going to do some of those over there on Facebook. I just thought it would be a great option.
Okay. So Christine asks, can you download your tree from your family tree program? And I'm not sure if she's talking about Findmypast in particular to your family tree program or what. But what can you, what does Findmypast, which family tree programs does it actually interface with?
Okay, so Findmypast, you cannot use a genealogy software program to directly talk to Findmypast. You have to use a third-party program like Roots Magic, Legacy, Reunion, any of the software programs. You create a Jedcom file, which is kind of like the doc file or the spreadsheet file names. It's just a Jedcom file, and then you can upload it to the tree. I have a video on how to add your family tree to Findmypast. So be sure to check that out here on our YouTube channel.
So can you download what tree that you've built on here as a Jedcom file?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. And then Stacy asks, so this would be good to do if you have Irish, English, Welsh, or Scottish lines.
Yes, if you have any ancestors that lived in a country that was touched by the British Isles. So that could also be Australia. It could be South Africa, right? South Africa. It could be India, Canada, for our Canadians that are in the house, as well as the United States, because the tree building has just been kind of a private, personal thing. But now that you have the tree-to-tree hints, it's really very handy. Plus, anytime you're using a platform, if you want to keep track of your sources, you link it to your tree. And then you can remember where they were, because in the chat, how many of us have lost our sources because we didn't attach it somewhere? That never happens to you, right?
No, never. Because I only attach it to a tree. So Tara asks, or wait, did I miss Ascertain's comment? Yeah, I did. So Ascertain pointed out, when you go to someone else's profile, you can click Kinship Calculator and get that information also. You were showing how...
Yes.
So there's multiple different ways that you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Stacy wants to know, do they have free trees or do you have to have a membership?
I do not believe that they have a free tree. That is going to be something I'll ask my Jen Baldwin, who's the U.S. representative, and I'll ask her for sure.
Okay.
And we will put it in the comment section of this video, not during the live stream because I have to talk to her, but when you come back, we'll get an answer.
All right. So Tara asks, how common is it that a person born in 1887 not considered older half siblings as siblings? My great grandpa told in some memoirs that he had a sister and 4 brothers, but he also had 4 half siblings.
Can we repeat that again?
So basically, not recognizing half siblings as siblings. How common was that? Do you know?
I don't know that there is any definitive research about how uncommon it is. It all depends on the relationships. So, for instance, my German immigrant grandmother, she had 2 husbands and she had 2 sets of children with both of the husbands, and the half siblings knew about each other. Primarily because when Caroline married Michael Billman, her oldest was 4 and her youngest was 4 months, and then just a little while later she had the other 2. So they knew each other. But if there was any kind of battling between one another, if there was a nasty divorce, yes, people did get divorced in the past, or if somebody ran off and abandoned their family, then they could not know each other. So it all depends on the family dynamics. And if you have family members who don't know about each other, that gives you a clue that the family dynamics was just a little bit off.
Yeah, so Ascertain asked a question, or she tells us the trees are free. I think you have to have a subscription to add sources from the website to the tree. So you can start a tree, but it's the sourcing that you're not going to be able to do without a subscription.
There you go. Now I know anytime I talk about some platform, I need to know what's free and what's not free. I am so sorry.
Rowan Mayhew asks, how do you add DNA to a person?
On Findmypast, I don't know that you can.
You can't. Now Findmypast has a partnership with Living DNA, but there's been no link to the trees and stuff yet. So even if you've tested with Living DNA, you can't connect that to your Findmypast tree and vice versa.
Okay, so it says you can upload your test here, but I think that's to Living DNA.
Yeah, that's to Living DNA.
So you can't link it there. The DNA that you can link to trees are MyHeritage, that platform, Ancestry DNA, and then the other ones have trees.
Family Tree DNA. You can make a tree on.
And your DNA goes to it. And then 23andMe, it has a tree, but your DNA is not really linked.
Right.
And GEDmatch doesn't.
You have to upload a
Jedcom, and then you can link your DNA. And then WikiTree allows you, Chris is going to have to confirm it in the chat what they do. I'm going to defer that question to Chris. And eventually we'll make a video about it. I mean, because we do have a video about how to link your DNA to WikiTree on our channel, but I don't remember the steps. I processed so many of his DNA videos that I don't remember. I'm sorry. That's why we always point you in the direction of people who have the answers if we don't know them for sure.
All right. Oh, this is like some blank person. Ask the question. I don't know who you are because it has no name here. Am I going to find any matches if I upgrade my Y-DNA to 700?
That's a you question.
Yeah, now that's an easy one actually because with your Y-DNA, each time you test or each time you do a higher level of test, it's including all the markers from before. So you're not necessarily going to find more matches. What you're actually going to do is you're going to drop off matches that don't match near as much. They just matched at the lower level. They didn't match at the higher level. And so really with Y-DNA testing, what your strategy should be is you want to go with, I think it's the 67 markers right now. And if you have people that are within 1 or 0 genetic distance to you, then it's worth it to test to the 111 and see if they still are there or if they drop off. The Y700 is more if you just have the money and you want to get the most markers tested, but you're not going to be able to. You're not going to get more matches just because you've tested it at a higher level.
Here's my new view. I wanted to personally thank Jen for coming into the live stream as she did throw out the confirmation about what was free for tree building on Findmypast. So thank you ever so much. Very much appreciated you taking your time to talk to us in that way. All right. Now, if you have a question, put a Q in front of your question. It makes it easier to them to find because there's so many people. Love the conversation that's going. Don't take that the wrong way. I do love it. I do encourage it. But if you want your question to be found, you need to put a Q in front of it, and then we'll be able to find it.
All right. Franny Amigo asks, my great-great-granddad was a gypsy. May I have gypsy blood? Well, yeah. With your great-great-granddad, you're still going to. You're still going to share DNA with that great-great-granddad. I think it's with all your great-great-grandparents. It's when you get to the next generation that you may have some of your grandparents start to drop out as far as having DNA with them, just because of how much they share. Yeah. So a great-great-grandparent would be 6% on average of DNA. And it probably goes down as low as 1% that you might share, and maybe as much as 10% or so. But once you get up to the third great-grandparent, you probably only have, because you got 4, 8, 16, 32. Yeah, so you probably only have DNA from, let's say, 30 of your 32 third great-grandparents. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have to take a sidebar, and we are going to answer Cosmic Slights, Leanne's question, because she asked you a question from the MyHeritage Genetics Group video that we released last week. And she's been so patient to wait for this question. And since she's such a loyal fan, we're going to ask it. All right, so my results on MyHeritage are the ones from Ancestry. I'm confused as to MyHeritage showing 9% Balkan, yet Ancestry is not giving me even a trace results from that area. So how far back would 9% likely be inherited from? A third great-grandparent, question mark, question mark? Do you need to have your whiteboard?
No.
Okay.
But you really got two questions here, if I'm understanding the info right. So what it sounds like, Cosmic Slice, is you took a test with MyHeritage. No, you took a test with Ancestry, and then you've transferred that over to MyHeritage. And so MyHeritage is interpreting the Ancestry. Go back. You can't go away from it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So MyHeritage is interpreting the Ancestry data. Now MyHeritage has interpreted that as 9% Balkan, whereas Ancestry has not interpreted any Balkan in there. So that's the first question, is why there's that discrepancy there. And then the second question is, how far back would that 9% likely be inherited from? So let's answer the first question first. Why does Ancestry not show any Balkan, but MyHeritage shows 9% Balkan, and it's the exact same test? And the simple reason is that each of them has a different algorithm to calculate what goes where. And because they're different, and because the underlying reference population for each company is different, it's entirely possible that in this case, you have two companies that have completely different analysis as far as where some of that DNA is from. For instance, MyHeritage says that I have 3% Finnish DNA, whereas Ancestry says that it's like 12% Scandinavian. But if you've watched our channel quite a bit, you know that a lot of Finnish people do not consider the rest of Scandinavia part of them, and vice versa. And in fact, Finnish DNA is very different from Swedish and Norwegian DNA. It is not the same. They're descended from different groups of people. So that's one thing, is each company has their own way of calculating it. So the second question is if you have 9% of some ethnicity, how far back would you expect that to be? If you were just going off of a chart like this, then 9% would fall somewhere between a great-grandparent and a great-great-grandparent. 12.5% to 6.25%. But, as we talked about just briefly already, two things with that. There's always two things.
Everybody type "it depends" in the chat.
We gotta get the little caution thing or whatever, the yield sign.
I know.
So
I know.
The first thing is that the amount that's passed down from each one of your great-grandparents or each one of your great-great-grandparents is not a set percentage. It is a range of what it could be. And the further back in time you go, the broader that range is around that average. So for instance, with a great-grandparent, on average, you're going to get about 12.5%. You're putting a little marker there. You got to move it around to show. There we go. So around 12.5%. But in actuality, what you might see is that you have let's say 7%, and you actually have a second cousin who has 14% or something. So it's different. This isn't plugged in.
Oh man. So, I was going to write range, but I can't do it with a mouse.
So because of that, that's why I say it's somewhere in that great-grandparent to great-great-grandparent range. Even though a great-great-grandparent says only 6.25%, you could easily have 9% from a single great-great-grandparent. So that's the first reason why it might. What are you writing?
I was trying to write range. I'm just not going to.
You're not going to write range? Okay.
So else.
The second thing with that is the ethnicity results, the way they're calculated, they're not intended to be used as a how far back in time might an ancestor be. Yeah.
Okay, everybody's going to hate that answer.
I know, everybody's going to hate that answer. It might work well if, let's say, you had a a European mother and an African father. Completely different DNA profiles, and it's going to show up, 50% roughly on each one. That's what it was, what you could really determine from that. Once you get past that, the reason why they can't be really exact is because they don't know which DNA came from your mom and which DNA came from your dad. That DNA is all jumbled together. And so they're just looking for patterns of what certain things look like. And part of the jumbling of your mom and your dad's DNA together sometimes makes DNA look like something that it is not, like Finnish, for instance. Mm-hmm. So I hope that answers your question, or your two questions that you had within that one question. Yeah. If you want to think that you might have somebody, or if you want to start looking for somebody that is Balkan heritage, you're going to have to be looking at least back to your great-grandparents or your great-great-grandparents. But it might be a generation further than that even. Or it might not exist. Awesome.
Lots of people said it depends. I love when you say it depends. All right. So there was a question earlier. Can you download your family tree from Findmypast? And the answer is yes. I just didn't remember it until Jen Baldwin sent me these thought vibes. So thank you, Jen. So you go to Family Tree, and then it goes to Manage Your Trees. And then there is a download, Export Your Tree button way over here. I'm going to zoom in just so you can see what the icon looks like. But when you're looking at it, it's really going to be on the right. So there's a Export Your Tree right there, and you can download that to your platform. So that's how you export it. Now, let's see, Rowana Hugh said, how can you upload to Ancestry? Okay, the only thing you can upload to Ancestry to confirm that I'm telling you correct, the only thing you can upload to Ancestry will be a Jedcom file. So let's say you built your tree over on Findmypast, then you would download that tree to your computer, and then you can go over to Ancestry and then create a tree. There's lots of videos here on the YouTube channel from us and from others on how to build a tree. You upload that to Ancestry. The thing you cannot upload to Ancestry would be your DNA if you took it from Living DNA or any other platform. So just want to make sure that I said that accurately. So, yay, thanks for the thought vibes. All right, so there you go, looking for more questions. Okay, do you have to delete your other Jedcom files if you upload a new Jedcom to Gedmatch?
Yes. Well, no, you don't have to. You can have as many Jedcom files as you want uploaded. And the thing is, though, is unlike, say, Findmypast, if you upload a Jedcom file to Findmypast, you can now manipulate your tree in Findmypast. So you can make additions, you can make deletions, you can make corrections. On Gedmatch, it's static. So if you upload a Jedcom file, that's all it is. If you need to make a correction, the only way to make a correction is to upload a new Jedcom file.
When you're uploading Jedcom files to Ancestry, Findmypast, and MyHeritage, it starts a new tree. I haven't been able to see the ability to overwrite a tree and maintain the links that you find for your records, so there is that. Before we continue, I wanted to show a quick announcement. A lot of people have been asking about Roots Magic 8. I have a feeling Roots Magic 8 might come out in 2021. And the reason why I say that is because Roots Magic 8 is now open for a community preview, buggy testing, feedback loop thing. I know that's not a great sentence. But if you do like Roots Magic, if you have experience using it and you want to give feedback to the developers, I just put a link in the comment section for you to go access that. I think there's a lot of great things happening. I also think it's been quite a while since we have had an update with Roots Magic, so some things aren't where you want them to be. But that's just going to be a little bit of training. And there are some really cool things coming. So just so you know, got that out there. I'm finally able to talk about what I played with for Christmas, which is the Roots Magic Beta. I'm really liking it. Some of it is just going to need a little more training for me to know where things are. And as soon as they release it, I might just go hog wild making some Roots Magic videos because I really like the platform. So do you want to go back to the main screen or the comment screen? Or
I don't know.
Let's just go back to that one until we find questions and get caught up a little bit.
Okay, let's see here.
Okay.
All right. So Tim's got a question. What is the best way to locate a parent when you only have first cousin matches and they won't look at messages?
I'm guessing this is the DNA question.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it has a "it depends" answer.
Well, the best way when they won't answer messages is to probably stalk them, cyber stalk them, and by that I mean
in a non-illegal way.
Yeah, in a non-illegal way. It sounds creepy, and it sort of is once you get into it. But they've got a username that you know. They've got a name, so go and Google that name, and hopefully that name's not John Smith. But they've got a name. You might have a bit of data as far as where they're from. So Google their name and that. If they have a username, you can just go and Google that username. They might be using that same username on other platforms. So they might be using it on Facebook, on whatever. And so what you can start to do is, hey, if you're looking at their Facebook profile, well, you can see what people they are related to. Well, take that list of people that they're related to and see if it matches any other of your unknown matches, maybe as an even more distant relative. And then maybe that person will be willing to contact you or answer the messages. If you're really lucky, you might find where their grandma died and they mention that on Facebook, in which case now you have a name and you have a date, rough date as far as a death, so you can start going and looking for an obituary and start building a tree for that person just from public record data. So that's what I do, and I've done that before with people that don't answer me or that I don't know or anything like that. And congratulations to Edward Thompson, who just joined FHF Extra.
Awesome.
Welcome.
If you are a member of FHF Extra, our channel membership, be sure to be looking for the playlist, the member-only playlist here on YouTube. It'll say members only or this month FHF training, and then you'll be able to access the videos from our archive as well as the upcoming training. And then we also have an email list specifically for our FHF Extra members. So if you want to be on that so you can get reminders, just remember to go on to YouTube or catch the replay. Be sure to send me an email at info@familyhistoryfanatics.com and I'll make sure you're on the list. If you filled out our survey and said you wanted that, you're already good to go. You'll be getting an email starting tomorrow. But I just wanted our new members to know all about that.
So June's got a question. Hey, the book in the background, How to Fall? I don't think it's how to fall, it's how to fail.
All right.
How to Fail English with Style. That was a book that I wrote that is actually about my high school years. It's available on Amazon if you want to purchase it, or some of you may have already purchased it already or bought it when we do one of our book deals.
Yep, so that's what, and so it is kind of fun because what happened is he saved a lot of his essays that he wrote.
Actually, it was a friend of mine that saved all the essays.
Okay, you're right. A friend of his saved a lot of his essays because he would get this comment back from his teacher. And so he would show you the essay, show you the comment, and then give you his feedback 20 years later. So there's a couple of really great nuggets in that book.
All right, Terry asked a question, and this is one I don't know. It's about DNA. My paternal grandmother was from Karelia. Does Karelian DNA show as Finnish or Russian on a DNA test? I don't know. I would actually have to research and find out more about the Karelian community to know whether it does, or which side it probably shows, because Finnish DNA also is very different from Russian DNA as well. But I'm not familiar with Karelian as it is, so I couldn't answer that.
Cosmic Slice and I might be related.
Uh-oh. How are you related?
She has a Snyder line through Canada, and I have a Snyder line through Canada. Just thought I'd throw that out there. All right. Now, we did have some feedback so that some people didn't actually like this new view of the side-by-side chat stuff. So you guys can go ahead and let us know. Do you like having the comments on the screen?
Are they talking about that new view, or are they talking about the Findmypast new view?
No, he was talking about that because he said it's a duplicate of the comment screen and it gets kind of confusing. So it is time to vote. If you like it, say yes. If you don't like it, say no. And we will decide based on you guys, we'll decide if we have that or not. I just wanted to bring it back to give it a go. So I'm going to go back here for now because Robert, my buddy from Robert.
Your buddy from Robert? I think he is Robert. I don't think he's from Robert. Unless Robert is from Robert. Because I got Richard Richards. They're not from Richard, but... So
how many of you love Doc from the Seven Dwarfs and how he transposes letters and words and things? That is my brain. I transpose. So Robert is from Southern California. I do know that. Oh, and speaking of Southern California, last Saturday I did a free webinar with them talking about the stars in your family tree. And they are going to have that webinar free if it's not up there just yet. They were kind of launching the registration for their summer program, get that going. So that is in the works. And as soon as I have the link to the free replay, then you'll be able to do it. But what it is a 600 word or less family history writing challenge. And you could submit up to 2 entries. You do not have to be a member of Southern California Jamboree to submit an entry, but you need to submit early if you want to be included. And they do want a vast array of people to submit so that we can kind of in this world understand that there's so many great stories with our ancestors from around the world. And maybe we can develop a little more unity from seeing all of these commonalities and differences and the things people overcame and things people did well. And I'm super excited to be part of that project. So be on the lookout for that. I know it was free and it should be coming out pretty soon. The Stars in Your Family Tree project.
All right. So there's several stalkers on here, since we were talking about cyber stalking, that have basically used the technique that I told you to find people and finds them successfully, it looks like, in some cases. So that's great. Also, pretty universally, people don't like the new look.
Okay. You know what?
But there's some people that do. But the majority, I'm seeing lots of nopes.
All right. I won't use that anymore.
It's okay.
I will just take that out. Bye-bye. Okay.
All right, so another question. This is from C. Davis. Have a cousin's DNA for my great-grandmother's children. I'm going to pull up my card here. Great-grandmother's children. Want to know which child descends from which great-grandfather. Oh, so what do I do now? So your great-grandmother has multiple husbands. So there's multiple great-grandfathers involved with these children. So I guess really what you need to do is, in order to figure that out, you need to know
which line each one's from.
Well, you need to know the line that at least one of them is from. Now, how you can do that is you can be looking at the matches of these, and particularly since they share the same great-grandmother, we want to look at the matches that they don't share in common. Now, some of those matches will still be related through the great-grandmother just because they're more distant, but a good portion of those that they don't share in common are going to be the ones through their individual fathers. I'm not sure if there's just 2 fathers you're talking about or 3 or 4, but by focusing on those, what you can find, hey, which matches and who's got a common ancestor some way that maybe links up with a name that you know from one grandfather. And likewise, so that would be the best way that I would say.
All right. Okay. If you have questions, we are all caught up, so we'll be able to answer your questions. And your questions do not have to be DNA questions. They can be preservation, writing, research, Findmypast, anything like that. Go ahead and put a Q in front of it. So the next question was, what tool do you use to write your stories, Word or something else? And that is from Edward Thompson. I use two programs. That when I'm writing, drafting, editing, and all of that process of the writing process, sorry, Grammarly would be so mad at me for duplicating words in a sentence. Anyway, so I use Google Docs to do all of that. My note-taking, there's lots of people who will use Trello and Evernote for note-taking. I do everything in one platform. Now, I may have multiple copies of a document in a folder, but I do everything on Google Docs. Then when I get ready to format my book for publication, since I self-publish, I just use I use LibreOffice. You can also use Microsoft Word or Apple Pages. Those would work fine for most formatting needs, but Google Docs doesn't have a great way to do my favorite way to put citations at the end of a chapter. You can do it at the end of the entire book or at the end of a page, and I don't like those for various reasons. But LibreOffice and Microsoft Word both allow you to have chapter endnotes for your citations, and so then I go and format there. There's a couple other things that I can do in Microsoft Office and LibreOffice that I can't do in Google. So writing, drafting, editing, note-taking, all of that, Google Docs. When I'm ready to format for print, then I go to my desktop computer and get it all ready to go. Great question. Thanks.
All right. So Denise has a question. All my paternal cousins are half-cousins. Can I assume my paternal grandfather is not my biological grandfather? Well, I guess the first question I would have...
Hold on a second. I need to grab something. My nose is itching, and I'm sanitizing my hands real quick. So just so you know, not spreading COVID.
Oh, why did I have to stop?
Because I was making lots of noises, and on the replay, I don't want all that when you're talking.
Gotcha.
So now start over. We have the question.
All right,
now
the
the
question.
answer.
All my paternal cousins are half-cousins. Can I assume that my paternal grandfather is not my biological grandfather? My first question back to you would be is, how do you know that all of your paternal cousins are half-cousins? If it is just by DNA, you need to recognize that range that first cousins would share overlaps what half first cousins would share as well. Now, the fact that you say all of your first cousins, which sounds like multiple, bits of DNA, you're looking at it and they're all falling on that very low end of the first cousin range or well within the half cousin range. That's good evidence if you have multiple examples of that they all are half first cousins. Can I assume that my paternal grandfather is not my biological grandfather? I would say no, not yet. You would need something else. You would need to have some bit of information that is showing that either A, you all share this paternal grandmother in common, or something that shows that you share matches with somebody else who is descended from a paternal grandfather who is not that paternal grandfather. So you see what I mean? You don't have enough from this to say which one it is unless you know some other matches that show that, hey, we all share a grandmother in common as opposed to a grandfather in common, and vice versa.
Awesome. Okay. So there was a question, Stacy, I've already answered. She has a follow-up, but I'm going to go ahead and answer Chris's while you think of the answer, because she shared some stuff with you. So Chris, what tense do you usually use when you write? First tense, third tense. Okay, so there's tense and there's person, as I'm understanding.
I think what he's talking about is person.
Right. So I try not to write in passive voice and passive tense, and Grammarly helps me do that a lot. As far as voice, it all depends on what story you're trying to tell. So over on my blog, I have 5 writing samples that I included in the Southern California Jamboree. In our blog, type it in there, familyhistoryfanatics.com/blog. You'll be able to access the writing samples. And if you don't see it on that page, then click on writing tips and go to it. So in the story that I wrote about my father, I wrote it in the voice of myself recollecting his past. And then I talked about, little did I know my father XYZ. So that's when I would use that first person. When I am part of the story, or in my memoir, I'll put my first person voice. Any other times, I try to be the narrator on the shoulder, so the third person, and not necessarily, a third person omniscient, where I can kind of see the world around that person to add details that they wouldn't actually have seen necessarily, but been exposed to. I hope that makes sense. So third person for anything that I am writing about ancestors of the past. But if I'm actually writing a story like the one about my dad being my hero, then I'm telling you why he's my hero, and I use a little bit of first person in that situation. So go look at those samples, and then that should help you out.
All right. So Stacy had a question about, is there a video in the plans?
I already answered her.
Oh, you did?
I did. But go ahead and answer it anyway.
What's the answer?
Yes.
Okay.
So the question she asked is, are there videos in the works on how to use the MyHeritage Share Matches tool? The answer is yes, it is on Andy's queue to make videos. How quickly he gets to them will depend on how quickly or how much drops in February towards the closer Roots Tech gets. If there's a lot of new things, then we're going to have to shift things around. But it is on his list because this year, I know people wanted to see, how do I actually do the research? I've got my DNA test on Ancestry. What do I do? So there's 2 places you'll be getting the answers. One, in the channel membership webinars, he's actually going to do live webinars. So this one, Saturday, is a live webinar on how to process your matches on Ancestry. So he's going to do that for the 4 platforms.
Well, it's not only on how to process your matches. It's about Ancestry in general.
Okay. I want him to focus on DNA.
Well, yes, that's what I mean, on DNA on Ancestry.
Okay.
There's more than just processing your matches.
As you can tell, he didn't give me a description of what he's doing, so I'm going off what he told me.
Everything with Ancestry DNA.
There you go. But he's going to do that with MyHeritage DNA. 23andMe is in the works, and Family Tree DNA is in the works too, because a lot of you have tested at different places, and you're like, what do I do? He's still going to be putting out Jedcom ones as well. So, but the Jedcoms, a lot of those will be
Jedmatch.
Yes. Jedmatch, those will be in the free section. But these are your channel member stuff. And then we will also have him do some mini sessions that are on the free side. So you'll get it in 2 places.
All right. So this is a follow-up question from Denise's other question.
Exactly.
What should I do first with unknown matches to help me find the biological paternal grandfather? So she has all these cousins that are half matches, and basically she can see the matches that match them also are on that paternal grandmother side. And so she has these unknown matches. Now the difficult part here is you first need to separate out which ones are paternal and maternal, which means you hopefully have some matches on your maternal side that you can say, hey, well, these matches match these, so these matches can't be on the paternal side as well. So what you're left with then is some set of matches, hopefully, that what you want to do is you want to find out how those matches are possibly related to each other. In other words, you want to be looking through their trees to see if they have common ancestor among them. If you can find little groups of them that have a common ancestor, what that means then is that your unknown paternal grandfather is related. Either that person, maybe a generation or 2 before or after, somewhere in that ascendancy and descendancy of these matches tree is where your paternal grandfather is. Now, That's not always easy because people don't always have trees online, in which case you might have to do the cyber stalking like I mentioned and end up building your own tree of that person. In fact, do I have it on the Mr. Elder one? On the members?
For what?
Building a
4
generations.
The pajamas?
The
pajama one is there. Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. So on our member site, if you're a member, Denise, or if you want to become a member, there is a webinar about finding strangers in your pajamas, basically building a family tree for somebody that you know next to nothing about, where I go through and I show how I built a family tree for this person that I knew like 3 bits of information about. And that's it. So that's really the strategy you need to do, is you need to find out how those matches are related to themselves, and then from there your unknown person is going to be somewhere in that family tree that you've now just created.
Mm-hmm. So Route 66, long time no see, always glad to have you here. You're one of our first and most loyal fans. You asked a question that I'm not sure how to answer. It said, have there been updates on international genealogy? I don't know what you mean. There have been a lot of records released on Family Search, Findmypast, MyHeritage. Those are the 3 ones that have records, right? MyHeritage, Findmypast. Oh, Ancestry. Oops. I know there's 4. Anyway, there have been a lot of international collections released in 2020, with 2021 having more planned all of the time. 2 things that are always dependent upon that, and the first one is the companies having access to the collections from around the world, and then 2, the demand for collections from those areas. And actually, I guess a third part is privacy restrictions. So each country has their own way of determining when things can be released. So you just have to check. There should almost always be like a blog post or somewhere on their websites that says most recently released collections. And then that would be helpful, because I just did a video yesterday talking about the collections that are available for our viewers from Argentina. So, I mean, I didn't do a full video on it, but I mentioned it when I was looking at the Family Search Wiki. So, lots in that way. As far as DNA goes, international updates?
No.
I think it all depends on restrictions, and what markets certain companies can get into will depend the development of it.
So Jen says, in regards to the records being released, keep in mind that we will all be feeling the impact of COVID shutdowns for many more months.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Which
Jen.
means, and she clarifies, which means if archives are closed, we can't get into the facility to scan anything.
Right, true. So the records have been released, and I was on a call with a different company, and they were saying that they are processing everything they released and getting those indexed. But as far as filming stuff, Jen is correct that the archives are closed and you can't film if the archives are closed. So hurry up, let's open up. Hurry up, let's get it done.
All right, so Joan's got a question here. If someone turns up with a 806 centimorgan match and is listed as a first cousin, and a known first cousin, so this is a different first cousin, this is first cousin B, related on both the paternal and maternal sides with 650 centimorgans and listed as a second cousin, how is this?
Okay, I'm sorry. Where do we plug this baby in? Where does it go?
Right in there.
This is a whiteboard question.
Let me see if I can parse this out. And Joan, if you're watching, you're going to have to help me.
Okay, first things first, let me get over here.
Get over there so that way I'm not just randomly drawing on the whiteboard and nobody's seeing me.
Yes, so. Okay, so does it work?
Yep.
Do a little test.
I already did.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Okay.
So state the question
Go back
again.
out.
Uh-huh.
All right. So if someone turns up, so we have you are person A, Joan, and you have person B that it looks like there is a 806 centimorgan match. And then it looks like there is a known first cousin related on both the paternal, let's see here, and a known first cousin related on the, see, this is what's confusing here is where these different people, so what it sounds like there's a third person also. So let me figure out here. So these two are first cousins, and it sounds like this is a first cousin. And these two match like that. And what it's saying is that these two are second cousins at 650. Is that right? That's what it looks like to me from the question there, Joan.
Do I need to go back up?
Yeah, go back up. Let me just read it here real quick.
Uh-huh.
Someone turns up with listed as a first cousin and a known first cousin related on both paternal and maternal sides with only 650 centimorgans. Okay. A known first cousin that's related on both sides. Okay, how is this possible? And I guess the key here is you have a first cousin on both sides that has less DNA from a first cousin, period. And they're listed as a second cousin. And I guess the first thing I would question is how are they known to be a known second? And this is with all DNA really, is how do you know that relationship is really real? The DNA helps to tell you certain relationships are real. So for instance, DNA is going to tell you if this person is your mother or this person is not your mother.
The first cousin was unknown is the follow-up that we have so far.
Yeah. So if you have a first cousin that is related through both, is a first cousin through your mom and a first cousin through your dad, I would say that there's probably no way that they have only 650 centimorgans shared with you. That's just outside of the range of that kind of a double relationship. And so I would question whether or not that really is an actual biological relationship as opposed to just a familial relationship through both ways. 650 centimorgans is enough to be a first cousin. It's on the low end, but it's still enough to be a first cousin. Now, why would they report it as a second cousin? It might be that because of the number of segments that are involved, it looks more like a second cousin, but that doesn't mean that it has to be a second cousin. So here, if we're talking about a person who is related through both your mother and father, then from a first cousin standpoint, you're going to get somewhere around 800 centimorgans from the one side, but you should also be getting somewhere around 800 centimorgans from the other side. Now, talking about a range here, that might be 400 to 1200. And likewise, this might be 400 to 1200, which basically means that you got somewhere between 800 to 2400 that this double first cousin could be. And so that's why I say this is not that.
Okay, so she has some follow-ups
Okay.
that you want to read right there.
Let's see here.
Down at the bottom.
Two brothers' children, but related on the maternal side as well. Okay. So, yeah, I think I see what you're starting to get at here is, so you have, but it's basically like the moms of these two children are also related. Probably not sisters, it sounds like, but maybe cousins. They're cousins or something like that. And in that case, it's still, there's something else going on overall, because if you're related in two ways and all you're sharing is that 650, you're not going to be first cousins related. Mm-hmm. You're going to be something else. Now, yeah, and that's something that we'd have to map out more as far as all the known relationships to actually see for that. So it sounds like from this that there is a relationship in there that is recorded as being person X, but it is not person X. That's what I would say. The other thing that you can look at with double first cousins, just to confirm this, is there should be some small segments of fully matched DNA. Now, you're only going to see this on 23andMe or on GEDmatch. But there should be some small segments of fully matched DNA because they're getting DNA from both sides of the family. Now, they're not going to be big segments. They're going to be some small segments, but, half a dozen small segments, 7 to 15 centimorgans each of fully matched DNA on a double first cousin would be what was expected. All right, I think that's all that we have time for. Yep. It's just after 1 o'clock.
Yes, it is.
So
thank you so much for joining us. We love all of your questions, and be sure to hit that like button, share it out with the community. We will be, as soon as YouTube lets me, I'll be able to chop off that first intro so you can just get straight to it. And thank you once again, and you all have a blessed week. We'll see you next time. 2 weeks. 2 weeks for the live stream. That's free. Tomorrow for the members only live stream.